So, good evening, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on which side of the pond as such you are actually on. And officially welcome to the first of the Sacred Mirrors Concept sessions that we'll be sharing together over the next 3 weeks. I'd just like to take this opportunity as well to say thank you to everybody who has offered their amazing support and for the kind words over the last week with some very, very challenging circumstances. And I do apologize for all of the delays in actually initiating this program. Sometimes things are going to happen in their own perfect divine time and not before. And just very fortunately as well, in the last few days, there have been some incredible messages and confirmations that have been sent from the very special soul that was carried by my little dog in the physical world, by Millie. And she truly is a master of love and of higher, finer frequencies than what we could possibly comprehend. And those have all helped to bring me back into a place of appreciation, a place of love, and a space where I would be able to begin this facilitative process. So, as far as I'm concerned, there is always an element and an aspect of divine timing in everything, and perfect timing. And I'm always tested in terms of allowing myself to be true to that and surrendering to that process. So, I thank you all for surrendering to that process too. At the start here, what I would like to do is I would like to acknowledge Yasmin Rooney as a very, very special contributor and a soul who has had a lot to do with the Mirrors work. I actually initially did Mirrors work with Yasmin some 14 years ago when I first met her. She is a special spiritual teacher. She doesn't do a lot of external teaching at the moment, but she's a very, very special teacher with deeply profound wisdom and understanding. And it felt important for me to acknowledge Yasmin because this workbook that you will be working with during the 3 weeks, a lot of the words and the languaging that is carried in the workbook are actually Yasmin's languaging. Um, and you may notice that because people who are familiar with me and the way that I work will pick up the difference possibly in the energy, in the flow, and the use of the words, and the way that they are put together. So it's a collaborative work. Yasmin, in fact, did not ask for or want any acknowledgement whatsoever. I just felt that it was really, really important for me to do this as part of the acknowledgement of the program. So please go into it with that level of awareness as well. Your workbook will be sent to you together with the recording. I didn't want to send it to you before we had an opportunity to connect and go through the initial introductions to the program, because there's a couple of explanations and a little bit of preamble that was really significant and important before you actually start the work. So your workbook will be sent out to you together with this recording, and I'm going to go through some of the aspects of the workbook with you this evening as part of your preparation. So, Sacred Mirrors, the mirrors concept, what is it? There's obviously some preamble on the website, but just to summarize for you, this particular journey that you guys are initiating at the moment, very opportunistically and very synchronistically on this side of the eclipse while we are still in this partial solar eclipse energetic window, very, very relevant for us because the energies are supporting us in this work. So again, that is validation of the timing of this work. So it's a deeply personal inner journey. Ultimately, the work will support you in clearing distortions in perceptions and the way that you perceive and act and behave in your life as a consequence of whatever beliefs you have been carrying. So there's a clearing of distortions because our mirrors very often, I just love this image, our mirrors very often do become distorted as a consequence of where we are at with our um, beliefs and our stories, if you like, about life. It is deeply transformative, and that can be transformative at whatever level you choose to work with the material at this moment in time. So there's no judgment on that. There is no right or wrong. It simply is whatever is right and perfect for you in this moment. And whichever level it is working at, it is and does carry an energy of transformation. It provides you with powerful tools for understanding your life, and not just for understanding your life, it's your life up until now, for understanding your existence. So we talk about physical life, your embodiment in this process. It also will help you to achieve a much broader, bigger perspective on your life or lives, if you like, through on your journey through existence. It is multi-layered. So that is when you think perhaps that you are only working at one layer because you're engaged in doing some journaling or writing, there is deep energy work that is actually taking place as you work with some of the principles and the concepts. So it's multi-layered, multi-dimensional, and it has effects at many different levels. It is also very, very healing. So along with the transformation, you have a healing, very powerful healing effect. It reveals and it connects you with your true self. So it'll reveal your true self more and more to you as you do this work. And as with a lot of deep spiritual work, we can go back and do the same things in 5 years' time that we did, sort of 5 years ago, and we will have a different level of understanding, and we will have a different reaction, and we will experience a different level of knowing and of revealing through that process. So this is something that you can go back to and you can examine at another level at a later date. So it's a valuable tool for you to keep in your toolbox and keep handy. So when you get the recording, which will be in a video format, if you can actually download it, you can then keep it and go back to it over and over. So, as part and parcel of the preamble, I wanted to share this with you because I watched a movie a short while ago. I've actually watched it 2 or 3 times now in the past couple of months. And every time I've watched it, I've found it exceptionally profound in many ways and very, very meaningful. And that movie was released in 2013. It's called Cloud Atlas. It actually had some very significant role players in it. There was the likes of Hugh Grant, Tom Hanks, Halle Berry, Susan Sarandon, some very powerful names in it. But it wasn't just that. It was the truisms, the truth that was resonating through some of the inspirations and wisdoms that were being shared in that story were incredible. And I would honestly recommend to any one of you, if you get the opportunity to sit down and watch that movie, even if you've watched it once already, sit down and watch it again, because it will bring another level of meaning and understanding to the work that we are doing, because there is and there are implications in that movie for what we are embarking on through the Sacred Mirrors journey. And I wanted to share this with you because this is particularly relevant because we are working with beliefs and our belief systems and how our beliefs actually become the constructs of our reality and of our life. And this is one of the quotes from the movie by the character Isaac Sachs. And he says, belief, like fear or love, is a force to be understood as we understand the theory of relativity and principles of uncertainty, phenomenon that determine the course of our lives. So beliefs determine the course of our lives. Yesterday, my life was headed in one direction. Today, it is headed in another. Yesterday, I believed that I would never have done what I did today. These forces that often remake time and space, that can shape and alter who we imagine ourselves to be, powerful thought, imagine ourselves to be, begin long before we are born and continue after we perish. Our lives and our choices, like quantum trajectories, are understood moment to moment. At each point of intersection, each encounter suggests a new potential direction. And lots of truths in that our lives and our choices are understood moment to moment, because with each new level of awareness around the belief that is actually guiding the choices that we are making comes an opportunity to change the trajectory of our life in that particular moment in time. So some very powerful thoughts and insights. And that's really what this program is going to encourage you to do, as well as to engage in some deep thinking along with the reevaluation and the sort of very profound look at your lives. Um, so I'll leave that with you. And like I say, if you do get the opportunity to watch this movie, it is really, really worthwhile. So what I'd like to do here is to just break down for you how I'm going to structure the 3 weeks and the way that we'll be working together. In week one, which is this particular session, I'm going to go through the introduction and the workbook. I'm going to take you through the story of the true self. It's a wonderful story, most of which has actually been written by Yaz, and which is absolutely beautifully styled in terms of her language. So it's really divine. Then we're going to go through the guidelines for working with the concept, which is in your workbook as well. The principles of existence, because these also require you to go through and really give some thought to them, to suspend your beliefs and judgments, and just for this moment in time that you're working with the material, to accept these principles of existence as holding true. But with all of this material, what is really important is that you feel for the knowingness within yourself, for that intuitive hit, that ring, resonance, that vibration of truth that actually comes through on the words and through the work. So we're going to go through the principles of existence and then questing your life theme, which are the tasks that you will be asked to cover in this coming week. And it will take you a number of days or a week or so for you to go through this material and to begin to consolidate and work through it slowly. You may find that you can do a little bit on one day and then you pick it up the next day and you do a little bit more. There are spaces in your workbook that are provided for you to write down your own identifications, if you like. But it may be worthwhile you guys also having a journal handy for that work, because you may find that once you start writing as well, that you expand on what you have written, and as thoughts actually come to mind, you can add something to it. So it is worthwhile you having a notebook or a journal handy. So that's the essence of what we're going to be covering in this first session. We'll go through that shortly. In week two, what we're going to do is we're going to explore some of the ideas that we've identified, those ideas and beliefs, and we're going to have a look at the effects that our ideas have on our beliefs and on our relationships. And then we're going to look at healing our relationship with self and others through the ideas and the effects that we've actually identified. So it's a process that we're going to undergo over the 2 weeks. And here's another beautiful little quote from Cloud Atlas. Very, very profound. And I want you to consider this, because we think that we are in control of our lives, but what we think is being in control is generally the personality level of control. And what we are really talking about is that the guiding force that is in control in our lives and that should be in control is our true self, what we might want to call our highest self, our quintessence, our sacred essence, our sacred self. So whatever term you want to give it, that is where our locus of control actually needs to be. So this quote is, "Our lives are not our own. From womb to tomb, we are bound by others." And herein comes the element of healing as well, because in that binding to others, they become our mirror to reflect back at us our opportunities to create, to see, to explore, to understand, and to make different choices. We are bound to others, past and present, and by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future. So, moment to moment, we are given an opportunity to heal and to birth a new and a different, brighter future for ourselves. And as we do that for ourselves, we automatically open up the way to do that for others. So a lot of these concepts that we're going to explore, I know that you have come across before. We're really just going to take the understanding and the knowingness of those to a different level through the work. In week 3, we're going to look at substituting beliefs. You may have done some of this work previously. Again, I'm hoping that it takes you to a different level in terms of that substitution and understanding. And then we're going to look at some energy work and additional mirror healing processes. So in week 3, that's what we're going to introduce. This is one of the Diamond Light codes. And I've used this here because it's probably one of my favorite codes, being the first one that I actually saw as a code of light. Some of you who have worked with me previously will be familiar with this code. It is called the Freedom Light Code, and I've actually put it here because essentially through the healing that we will experience, we will come to know ourselves in a freer way. We will experience freedom in a way that we haven't experienced before, and in a very profound way. So the Freedom Light Code is something that's really relevant to the work that we are doing. So I will be introducing the odd additional light codes through the processes. So having said all of that, what I would like to do is very briefly now introduce you to the workbook. And the workbook itself, the cover is actually orange, and a lot of the graphics are sort of a golden orange color as well. For those of you that have done the color work with me, you may find this particularly meaningful, but orange is the color of the emotional body, and orange is the color that soothes and actually helps to fill in the gaps, to heal traumas within the emotional body. And that is essentially what we are doing through the process as we uncover our beliefs and our ideas and come to understand and see our sacred mirrors, and how our life is one huge sacred mirror reflecting our soul and us back to us and at us in any moment in time. Um, let's just have a look. That just really gives you a breakdown of what is in the workbook, so I don't really need to go through that. I love this quote by Albert Einstein, which is the only source of knowledge is experience. And this is important for us to remember because I know for me myself, this has been part and parcel of my process. I love learning, I love reading, I love exploring, and other people's ideas, other people's thoughts. And ultimately, the true knowledge, the real knowledge that we hold and carry within is awakened in us through direct experience. So that's a very, very powerful quote and concept for you to hold to your heart as well through this work. So I just want to share this with you. The introduction, the processes that are described in this workbook must arise through direct experience of the true self. So in terms of the processes themselves, they are going to trigger an experience for you of your connection with your true self. And it's only in that connection and the experience of that that the process itself becomes meaningful. So hold that in mind with everything that you do, that this is a sacred act. It's a sacred journey that you are undertaking for yourself through this work. These processes, when they're worked through carefully and with a meditative mind, will offer you direct experience of healing and transformation. Through this direct experience, it is inevitable that you will glimpse the true self and gain a keener insight into the meaning of existence. And I might add to that not just the meaning of existence, but the meaning of your existence, the meaning and the purpose of your life, your raison d'etre, your reason for being here. And I want to ask you not to believe anything that is written here. So it's not about belief. It's the same as when we have a guru. We place all of our faith externally in a guru or externally in a teacher. Comes back to that quote that we've just looked at. But you take these words and you weigh them up against your own experience. Become an observer of your own life and find the truth within yourself using these words to illuminate your own darkness. Because that is what we are doing. The sacred mirrors in our lives are a light that is shining into the darkness within ourselves, and it's just darkness, places that we have chosen to ignore, where we have locked things away. Beliefs are interchangeable and they are destructible. So if you become a believer in things that are written, you will have done no more than adopt a new religion. Truth in its purest form is formless, and the metaphors that are used here and that are used by others to describe it are different and subject to our individual perceptions. So that's where the truth as a formless concept can only be known through experience. So the written words always have their limitations. When you glimpse the truth for yourself, it will be through your own filters of understanding, and it will transform you in ways that are appropriate to your own spiritual needs. And that is really important. No two individuals will have the same experience of this journey. Every single one will be unique and different. And I'd like to share this little, one of the teachers that I have found has been profound in terms of my own understanding of these concepts has been Michael Tazarian. And I've got a little quote on the website in the introduction to this program. But he says, in these words, I found profound truth as well that I really connected with. So it says, you stand and you gaze into a mirror. The mirror contains your form in its glass, and it reflects back all that there is to see, clearly, impartially, and without distortion. However, the mirror is also contained in you. If you are seeing it, it becomes imprinted in you through your optic nerves. The light is reflected. So it becomes part and parcel of your belief system, of the constructs that you hold within yourself through this imprinting through the optic nerve. It is taken in through your eyes, and its image is within your brain. Excuse the typo here. So if that image, you are thinking the mirror that reflects your form. Okay, here we come down to the thought, the thought or the image of that mirror. That image of the mirror is held as a thought in your brain. You are thinking the mirror. So are you the person in the mirror? Surely the reflection is not you, but only your reflection. But if it's not real, then neither can you be. But if you are deemed real, then your insubstantial image must also be real. Which one is the reflection? Which one is real? Are both real, or are both unreal? And these are deep questions for you to think about and ponder. You are the mirror, and the mirror is you. One cannot be without the other. Both exist in a reciprocal relationship. So it is with man and his mirror, the universe. It is not the mirror's fault if you do not like what you see in it. If you smash the mirror, is it not you yourself who gets broken? Because you are holding the thought form of that mirror. So you break something within you when you smash the reflection. You cannot break the mirror without destroying yourself. You cannot destroy nature or your life without destroying yourself. So you can't destroy anything outside of you without destroying yourself, because whatever is being reflected back at you in the mirror of the universe is you. So here we come down to some of the really deep Buddhist concepts and the reasons why some of those lessons in mindfulness or principles in mindfulness become so significant about not destroying any life. It really comes down to ultimately holding all of life as sacred and understanding that we are living within. Not only is the universe our own mirror and everything that we see in our lives, but we're also living within other people's reflections, other people's mirrors, other people's creations of the universe. It really does become a multidimensional experience and understanding and perspective through this process. So these are really deep principles and concepts for you to ponder and understand. So now we get to the story of the true self. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this out to you. And I want you, just for this moment, to close your eyes as I do this, because it's important that you listen to this story, that you feel for the truth, for the knowingness in the story of the true self, because in this, it will support you in initiating and a connection. And if you already have a connection with your true self, it will support you in deepening that connection with your true self as you get those little shivers of truth through the process. So I'd like you to just sit where you are, make yourselves comfortable. I'm just going to take a quick drink and close your eyes. So if you are ready, take one or two really long, slow, deep breaths in as you allow yourself to relax and to ease into the chair or the surface on which you are sitting. And you rest your eyelids gently, the upper on top of the lower, as you deepen your breathing. And as always, with any work that we do with Diamond Light World, I want you to place yourself within your diamond, whether you visualize it emerging from you, whether you see it outside of you and you step into it. Create the diamond space around yourself and anchor it at the base of your spine so that you are held within this sacred and special place. And just honor this place that you are creating and entering into as sacred. It is a place and space for your communion with your true self. And within your diamond, you become aware of hundreds of pinpricks of beautiful, vibrant light. And each of those lights forms an aspect of the grid that extends beyond and out from your diamond to connect you with the universal patterning of the diamond grid that connects you through dimensions and through time and space to all aspects of your true self. Just be aware of that in this moment. And I'm now going to read to you the story of the true self. So in this space that you are in, as you take a deep breath, imagine yourself to be formless and free. And in your formlessness, there is no space or time. You are everywhere and nowhere. You are awareness without motion. You simply are. Awareness begins to move. Out of the everywhere and nowhere, a house manifests. It contains many rooms, and all of them are furnished. You are the house, and each of the rooms is you. Each piece of furniture is you. Everywhere and nowhere is still you, but now part of you is pretending to be the house, and part of you is imagining you are the furniture. The house and the furniture can only exist because you, as prime awareness, have thought them into existence. They stay manifest because you maintain the thoughts that give them form. Thought moves in repetitive cycles, holding the manifest in space and time. You are everywhere and nowhere. You are true self. And part of you is the house and the furniture. You are personality. True self watches its own absorption in the personality. Personality maintains itself through thought. Personality is busy with thought. Personality forgets it is true self. Personality feels the presence of true self and thinks true self is separate. True self allows personality to enjoy its existence in form. When personality no longer enjoys form, true self calls it back into the everywhere and the nowhere. Personality has thought up more and more furniture, and the more it makes manifest, the more it forgets its true self. Personality begins to feel lonely because it believes the thought that says it is separate from true self. Some discarded pieces of furniture have become rotten and ugly because personality has unhappy thoughts. Personality covers up the ugliness with more and more furniture or camouflage. The ugliness and the rottenness cause personality to detest existence. True self calls personality home, but personality is afraid to come home, even though it is no longer happy in form. It has forgotten it is true self. Personality has now thought up the unknown. It believes the true self to be unknown. Personality maintains itself. It makes a stand against true self. It is unhappy and detests existence, yet it dreads the unknown. Personality tells itself it likes existence. Personality lies and detests existence even more. Personality makes more furniture for its house to convince itself it is happy. Soon the house is full to the brim. Personality is heavy and cluttered and has forgotten where the rotten furniture is hidden. True self needs itself to be whole again. It needs personality to remember itself and to dissolve the house and the furniture. To dissolve the furniture in the house, personality must cease to believe its thoughts are real. True self has a plan to bring personality home. True self makes manifest a mirror and makes manifest pain. In pain, true self hides a mirror of itself. True self is now the mirror. True self is now pain. It enters the house and it places mirrors everywhere, in every room, in between all the furniture. True self puts pain into the rottenness and the ugliness, and both are magnified by the mirrors. Now personality can see the hidden parts of itself, and when it does, it feels pain. In the pain, personality sees its true reflection. It sees the true self and remembers that the personality is only thought. Personality turns from thought and dissolves it entirely. It begins to bring its awareness back into the true self. And that is the journey that each one of us has taken throughout eons of time, from the birth of existence into the lives where we find ourselves at the moment. What we see in our lives that bring us pain or cause emotional reactions are simply the mirrors that true self has placed there in order for us to be able to see into and to recognize whatever we have been hiding from within ourselves. And so begins the journey back. So take a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, just take a drink. So ponder and reflect on that story, use it, you can go back to it. And I'd like to just share with you, this is on page 6 in your workbook, which is really some background to the mirrors concept, which works on the premise that everyone in our lives and every situation that we find ourselves in reflects the beliefs that we have about ourselves. So these are all thoughts that we have brought into being. These thoughts and beliefs become constructs which are reflected back at us through the mirrors and relationships and circumstances. As human beings, we are aware of many of our beliefs and are completely unconscious of a multitude of others. So, yes, we may have done some belief work, and yes, we may have conscious awareness of a lot of those patterns and things in our lives. But our journey takes us deeper into our unconscious in terms of bringing up beliefs and ideas and understandings that have been deeply embedded. Our thinking processes arise out of the storehouse of beliefs that exists in our DNA. These beliefs are clustered into neural networks that fire up in the mind as an idea. Our ideas are responses to the external world and are formed through the conditioning processes, whether they be ancient or contemporary, of parental influence, school, culture, religion, community, media, and so on and so forth. So it's important to actually understand where those ideas and beliefs actually come from, that we are programmed bags of beliefs, and that a lot of those programs are actually passed on through our ancestral lineage. So it's really important to understand that when you do this work, you're also working to clear your beliefs and ideas that have been inherited in your DNA through your ancestral lineage. And this has become obvious. Scientists are actually finding and confirming this fact of cellular memory, ancestral memory, that through generations there are certain behaviors that are taken on board that are then not just learned through observation and patterning, but that are actually inherent to our very biological makeup. And that they are embedded through codings within our DNA. So that is something that they're beginning to find out physically, but this is a concept that the indigenous peoples and many healers and shamans have always known about. You know, we do inherit, if you like, therein is a biblical truth. We inherit the sins of the fathers, for want of a better description. You know, and these were ideas that I actually myself used to scorn and to laugh at and to dismiss with the wave of a hand. So these are some very, very profound concepts. I'm not going to read through the whole page there. I'm going to let you go through it in your workbook, but it's really important that you get that foundation and understanding for the premise of this work. What's really important, I think, for me to go through at this moment, because we're already, sort of about 45 minutes into this, is the principles of existence. So these are principles that you need to if you like, experience in order to understand. So you're encouraged to meditate on them and to begin the process of observing the truth of them in your life. Sometimes those observations, we may get one or two of them that we can see really clearly, that we get and we go, aha, yes, I know that. For others, it may take us a little longer. Sometimes it takes us years to fully embody and accept some of these principles. So just for this particular moment, for this work, for this period that you're in, ask you to listen and to feel for the resonance and the ring of truth within these principles. So assume them to be your truth as you actually go through the mirrors, concepts, tasks, and work. Truth will begin to reveal itself as you undergo the processes themselves. So, principle one, at the source of everything manifest in the universe, and most of us know this to be our truth anyway, is one unifying essence. Sometimes we don't behave as if it's one unifying essence, and we still want to dismiss certain elements as being external to ourselves or as not belonging to us. But at the source of everything that's manifest, the initial principle is that there is one unifying essence. We can call this God, Goddess, higher self, spirit, or true self, whatever we want to call it. It is who we truly are. So we don't even really need to seek it or to look for it because it is who we are. And this is a spiritual truth that has been echoed throughout millennia and by many, many very wise spiritual teachers. We act out of that true self when we use our intuition, when we use our psychic abilities, or sense the profound, have those aha moments, those beautiful, sort of really deep periods of knowingness. We rest in the true self when we allow our minds to leave the confines of the beliefs that have limited our perceptions of the world. And we allow ourselves access to other dimensions of experience, whatever they may be, and as strange and weird and wonderful as they may actually present themselves to be. Principle two, all human beings, although many are not even aware of it, are on a journey bound for recognition of the true self. So we're not seeking it, the journey is in the recognition of it. Although those who call themselves seekers may think otherwise, they are not seeking God, since we are already this divine essence. Instead, through the journey, they are systematically removing the beliefs, peeling off the layers of the onion. There's that wonderful throwaway expression that, if we really sat down and looked at it and applied it, we would understand it very deeply. So they're systematically removing the beliefs that insist they are lost and separate from the true self. So our true self is always out there, up there. We often look up. We talk about ascension. We talk about, sort of moving upwards rather than looking within, if you like. Somehow we separate ourselves from our understanding of the true self. Principle three, the path to our inner world, the place where we are divine in nature, is a spiral one that unfolds in stages. And herein is the truth in our acceptance of this journey or this process. So we start out totally focused on the material world, convinced of its authenticity. We're born into a physical body. We are programmed with those beliefs of our environment. So we start off completely focused on the material world. So we don't have the cognizance and the ability to actually examine beyond that. There is no sense of who we truly are, and we are identified by the body in our environment. All of our sense of beingness and worth comes from external sources. Okay? So that's where we start off. The next layer of the spiral, the second stage of unfoldment, we discover that we have an inner life, a rich, often rich inner life, and that there is more to our nature than the physical. We learn that all sense of self-worth comes from our own perception of ourselves, and that we can accept or reject beliefs that society promotes. And there are many, many who've been going through this journey and who are sort of at this level of the journey on their process of awakening right now. This is happening across the world, and with you understanding these concepts, it also becomes, I think, a valuable tool for you to be able to share with other people. So in this phase, which is an inward bound journey, we can begin to reclaim our sense of power, okay, from the external world. We bring it back to where it is, and that's where our journey of power continues. The third stage of unfoldment is often the most difficult but the most enlightening phase of all. It is a phase wherein we are challenged to move into the true self and to operate from this point of awareness. And herein we could probably use that beautiful word surrender that I have used over and over and over again. And I have been forced into that in terms of my own journey. And I say I've been forced into it. It's like only when my back is against the wall do I eventually surrender and give up and rest into the true self. So true self, in fact, the gift that has been given has just been guiding me all the time into that inner place. It just is. It's an amazing journey. To do this, however, we must remove all beliefs that separate us from this true self. And we can't remove them until we know what they are and we've identified them, which is part and parcel of what this work is. We move from a belief in duality, i.e., the belief that the personality and the true self are separate, into the knowledge and the knowingness that the true self and the personality is one and the same. And through this process, what we do is we begin to infuse the personality with the voice, the resonance, the energy, the essence of the true self. So it's not that we dump our personality or ego. A lot of people want to call, there's another word, the personality, the ego, and get rid of the ego. It's not about that. It's about transforming the ego so that it can carry and hold and transmit the essence and energy of your true self. So I hope that is making sense for you. So I'll let you read through the rest of that. Principle 4, in this journey inward, there is no punitive God who sits in judgment of our sins. There is no sin. There are only beliefs that harm us, and we live the consequences of those beliefs until we recognize them and release them. So that phrase I used just a short while ago where I said, we carry the sins of the fathers, it's really a metaphor for us actually holding on to ancestral beliefs that our fathers, grandfathers, and their grandfathers' fathers may have carried, that we inherit in our DNA, and that those beliefs have become a part of us, and those beliefs can harm us if we are living out the consequences of them without awareness. We are already the true self, and the true self is absolute love. There's no doubt about that. Heaven and hell are reflections of our beliefs. If we have positive beliefs about ourselves, we live a heavenly life. If we don't, we suffer the torments of our own inner hellish ideas. The true self, which is divine love, is not capable of hurting us, but our beliefs are. So whenever we are in pain, it doesn't necessarily mean, and I think this is where perhaps some of the teachings get a little bit distorted, it's not about blaming yourself. It's not about blaming anybody for the fact that it is a belief that is actually causing that suffering or pain, because that belief may very well be a deeply unconscious one, and it is a very tough journey to get to the point of uncovering that. So there is no judgment, and when we are operating from our true self, we are operating from a place of divine love, and there is no judgment when we are in love. So the closer the connection we have with true self, the more love we feel for ourselves going through some of these processes. Okay. Principle 5, the true self and the personality are one and the same, though our awareness moves from one aspect to the other. So you imagine building a house with many rooms, and to appreciate the rooms, you have to walk to each one and to focus your awareness on the features of that specific room. Just as we have to walk through a house to acknowledge its scope, so our awareness moves from its true self into the personality, into the facets and the aspects of personality in order to experience its manifestation. In the sleep state, we move back into the true self, and in the waking state, our awareness is in the manifestation of our beliefs. But either way, the personality is simply the true self that has become wrapped up in its ideas and their resulting manifestations. So sit with that principle. Number 6, the human self, and this can be controversial to a lot of people, so I want you to really feel into this. The human self, or the personality, has no control whatsoever over the direction that its life will take. Herein is the illusion of control. All decisions appear in the mind from the true self, and all outcomes are already determined because true self is guiding all of the processes. The true self has designed the layout of its life using a DNA configuration. So your DNA has been chosen, your parents were chosen in order for you to live a specific life, in order for you to experience certain patterns of behavior and certain beliefs so that you could identify and release and clear them. So, in other words, you have already manifested your life using the numerous patterns of belief that you intend to release, you, the true self. You cannot in any way alter the course that your life will take. It is only your ingrained belief in the power of the personality that can convince you, and that does often convince us otherwise. When we surrender to this knowledge, it will bring peace by allowing you to let go of guilt for any difficult paths down which you have traveled. And this is really important. I can tell you from my own experiences, from the knowingness that has emerged through many, many of the circumstances that I have been through, and people that have known me for an extended period of time know how challenging some of those have been. And I sit here and I say to you, I know that it could not have been any other way in order for me to have learned, to have integrated, and for me to have connected with what I have as a consequence of that. It couldn't have been any other way. So there's an absolute truth in that principle. And it may be very difficult for you to accept at the moment. So it is really important that you spend a bit of time meditating on that and feel where the resistance comes up in your body, where one of the beliefs wants to override perhaps that knowingness that resides within you, because it means that you can truly let go of guilt over behaviors and circumstances and difficult, challenging paths that you might have traveled. All choices that you have made were inevitable. This does not imply fatalism, by the way, or that you just sit back passively and then let your life carry you along because it's already been predetermined. We still have to engage with life and with those beliefs that are being presented for us because our true self has actually set up these circumstances for us. So all choices that you have made were inevitable since they arose out of the beliefs that you firmly held. So the beliefs that you held present circumstances which meant that you made a certain choice in your life and were predetermined by you. Whenever I say you, we mean the true self, in the awareness of your true self. If your choices have had a negative impact on other people in your life, it is because they too have had something to learn. And again, this is not about judgment. It's not about blame. It's not about finger pointing in any way. We are all interconnected and we are joined by similar patterns of ideas. There was never any other choice that you could have made, for our choices lead to the undoing of old patterns of belief in ourselves and others and ultimately result in our freedom. Okay, and this is this consciousness expansion process, part of the journey that we're all on at the moment. And that's why there is just such a massive awakening and such a deep call for this kind of work, because it is fueling the expansion of this process, not only for ourselves, but for everybody else as well. So the gifts that we give to ourselves through this are gifts that we give to others. I have to laugh because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Nassim Haramein, wonderful physicist. I love the way that he puts some of his ideas across. But one of the things that he says, and it's related to this understanding, is he says, whatever you do, don't get knocked over by a car in the middle of Sedona in Arizona. He says, because in that area, he said, the likelihood is that you'll get somebody standing over you in the middle of the road that's going to say, now what exactly did you do to create that happening in your life? When what that person really needs, when a different choice could have been taken, to say, how can I help you? You know, it's just it's really interesting how people take this concept on board and then throw it out or apply it in their lives. A true self, somebody operating from the perspective of true self-awareness, would never stand over somebody who needed help and say, what have you done to create that? They would hold out that hand of divine love and say, how can I help you? Okay. Principle 7, just as the true self controls your breath, your heartbeat, digestion, and other involuntary body functions, so it controls your thoughts. I sit and think about this. You know, these are processes that I've done over the years, and it is really fascinating. Who is the thinker behind the thought? Where do the thoughts come from? Where do the thoughts come from that pop into your head? They are all coming from the level of true self. You do not choose your thoughts. We think we do. We like to think we do. Personality likes to think it does. All thoughts arise from belief systems which are activated through circumstances. The true self arranges its life in a pattern as it would set a carefully arranged line of dominoes. When one domino is pushed, the others fall in perfect sequence, one domino affecting the other until the desired result is obtained. All dominoes fall and the line is demolished. As you go through your life and you encounter its events, so your thoughts are activated in a domino effect. When thoughts appear out of nowhere, they are passed to you from your true self, which requires that you process an idea within the context of any life event. So whenever you think, my goodness, where did that thought come from? It just popped into my head out of nowhere. It's your true self. And the more awareness that we have of our thoughts, the more expansive our connection with true self actually becomes. Principle 9, everyone in your life, family and otherwise, is a reflection of your beliefs. And I've been through stages in my life where I've encountered great resistance to this particular principle. You may be experiencing that at the moment too. Those who are in your life over a long period of time share similar beliefs, all mirroring ideas back and forth. Your environment is a mirror of your ideas. The country that you live in, the culture that surrounds you, the house that you choose, the car you drive, the words you choose, the way you look, the state of your health, all arise from the wellspring of your ideas. You are the living embodiment of your ideas. Principle 9, I think this is the wrong way around. I've got 8 and 9 the wrong way around. Judging others is a good thing. Okay, so I've spoken about judgment, but hold the thought, because this term is not used within the context that for most people it actually has meaning. When you are judging something that is happening, you can see the full spectrum of your own beliefs, your own personality. So you don't judge them by pointing fingers at them. You may judge their behavior as being good or bad, or right or wrong, but it is a judgment for you ultimately. So you're not judging the person. You are judging the behavior, you're judging what you see in respect of the meaning that it actually has for you and your mirror. Often we suppress the more negative aspects of our personality, covering them with opposing positive behaviors. This may be because we want to be perceived more positively by others, or because we have learned that it's a better way to be. Whatever the reason, if we have suppressed more negative aspects of our personality, it means that we are not confronting those negative ideas and we continue to experience the manifestation in our lives. And how do we experience it? We experience it through the manifestation of seemingly negative, challenging people, circumstances, and relationships. By judging others in our lives, we get to see who we are, since everyone close to us reflects the hidden parts of ourselves. So this is what I'm actually saying. Be cautious about expressing that judgment externally to others, because the judgment is a reflection for you personally. The way in which you perceive the world, other people, and events is wholly a reflection of your beliefs about yourself. What is happening out there always has another story, and this story is subjective to every individual who is judging. So you may get, a troublesome individual. You have one person who judges that individual in a certain way because it's mirroring one set of beliefs, and somebody else is judging him as something else for a totally different reason and for totally different reflection purposes. No one story will ever be the same. When a person describes the state of the world, they are describing their state of mind. When I criticize another for behaving in some inappropriate way, it is my own inappropriate thoughts that I am despising, whether we realize it or not. And this is important because very, very often, this is why we do the work that we do, because those thoughts, those inappropriate thoughts or negative ideas and beliefs are unconscious. And the mirrors help us to bring them into conscious awareness. Okay. So as I said, there's some really deep work that's going to go with along with all of these processes. Principle 10. You are the true self. Ideas are just ideas, and they have no substance or truth to them. When you are in pain, it means you believe in an idea that isn't true. All emotional and physical sicknesses arise from ideas that are worshipped, ideas that we have given power to in order to rule our lives. The mirror's concepts allows us to identify the ideas that cause us pain and encourages us to let them go, to transform them for good permanently. Because once true self has become acknowledged as the source, the origin of all of these ideas, and actually infuses that part of you that was limited or restricted by that idea, you can't take it away again. So true self has become expanded in and through you, and it always will transform for the good. So you will probably want to go through those principles of existence and the background to the mirrors concept again on your own. Sit with it, journal, write your thoughts on it. If you have any questions or you want to email me about any of the concepts or ideas, then please feel free to email me during the week as well. So part parcel of the process is that you have some support on hand. Now, as you go through this process, because it is so difficult for us often to identify some of the limiting beliefs that we have about ourselves, it may be helpful for you to have somebody around you that you trust who can, with honesty, help you to see some of the unseen thoughts and belief patterns that may be causing you limitations or problems in your life. So if there's something that you can't see, it is really, really helpful to have somebody that you can lean on. Not somebody who pushes your buttons and causes emotional reactions, in a sense, because that then becomes very difficult and challenging to deal with because you're working within the mirror and you're working and perhaps getting locked up again within a belief if somebody's pushing your buttons. So it's really somebody that you can trust and surrender yourself to in this process that can help you through some of the stickier patches. So that is also a suggestion for you for this time and if you feel it is necessary. So the homework and the work that you are being given in the workbook for this week. There are just a couple of tasks here that I just want to run through with you and the examples so that you can work through this then in your own pace over the next week. Task number 1, questing your life theme. So here we're going to be looking for patterns of behavior. And we're going to look for those patterns in the reflections that our relationships have shown us right from our earliest memories. So our ideas drive our attitudes and behaviors. To begin the process of rooting out painful ideas, we need to look at their surface manifestations. That is the way in which we behave in community with others. Each of us lives a life of purpose. Every one of us, in the awareness of the true self, designs a journey calculated to reveal a specific pattern of beliefs that have governed our lives. So we're all operating ultimately under the guidance of true self to greater or lesser degrees. Our sexual relationships, family life, social and work situations all contain clues as to the nature of these beliefs that have been part of the setting up. Our first task is to acknowledge our patterns of behavior in order that we can later identify the beliefs that hide in the recesses of the mind. To do this, it is helpful to cast the mind back to our earliest significant relationships and move into the present from that point. Okay. So, it is interesting. Now, some people may say, well, if I can get hold of the concept that I really am true self and that I'm everything and nothing and that life is just an illusion anyway, then I'll just move straight into that space. But we actually can't, because it becomes a personality conflicted space, because if we have not managed to root out the ideas and beliefs that have produced the limitations consciously or unconsciously, it simply becomes a personality trap that we have moved into, because there is no substitute for short circuiting this work. That I can tell you over many, many years. You cannot short circuit it no matter how much you want to. Take your mind out of the picture, don't think about anything, I'll just short circuit the whole process. You can't. Okay? Because life is going to show you. Um, where those ideas and beliefs are actually still playing out. So, for the first exercise, you're going to make a list of your relationships. It's as simple as that. Make a list of your most significant relationships. That's important. The term significant relates to those who have created intense feelings within your emotional life. So, your emotional body is a guide in this, where your buttons have been pushed, where you have intense reactions, either positively or negatively. It's really important that we're not only looking at the limiting reflections, that we also acknowledge the powerful positive reflections in our lives as well, because they will be there and they are where we allow our true self to actually shine through. So it's important that we acknowledge all aspects of the mirrors and reflections that we are seeing. So, as an example, you may want to look at your relationship with your mother, your father, your siblings, your best friend or friends, first long term boyfriend, live in boyfriends or husbands, children, work colleagues. You know, there's a whole pool of people that we can actually draw from. Enemies, you know, whether it be feuds, neighbors, business opponents, whatever it might be. So here's a sample list, Jenny's list. Earliest that I can think of, mom and dad, both were abusive. Okay, so you're going to identify them and you're just going to put keynotes in here, first of all, in terms of what it was about that relationship that was the primary button pusher, the biggest emotional, that caused the biggest emotional response. They were abusive. Teens, as in friends, these friends all affected me, all selfish in many ways. Keynote. Significant boyfriend, Thomas. He was a holiday romance. I planned to marry him. Catholic, too religious, of a different culture, and he was close-minded. Husband, John. 10 years of marriage. Great guy. Kids. Wonderful girl. Too outspoken and stubborn, though. Okay, have a problem with this. Mom and dad-in-law, Jack, brother-in-law, great bunch. Don't have a problem with them. Carla, complete backstabbing bitch. My next door neighbor, backstabbing bitch. That's how I see her. Wouldn't say it to her face in terms of that judgment, but yeah, this is Jenny, by the way. This is not me. I don't have any neighbors like that. I've got wonderful neighbors. At work, this is now a referral to Ingrid, work colleague, who's a lazy cow. So be totally honest with the work that you're doing and start identifying all of the people with whom you have challenging emotional circumstances. Okay, let me go back to the page here. So that's that page. And there you have a blank space in your workbook, your list of relationships. So you can write them all down in your workbook, or you can actually write them down in your journal. So there is space provided for you. So your next task that you're going to do once you've done that is you're going to take a look at your perceptions of that person. So you're going to break it down into a little bit more detail. One person at a time. Now describe the behaviors that they exhibit that create an emotional reaction within you. Make sure you keep the statements limited to how you perceive these people, not how others perceive them. Remember, we were saying different people and judgments will be providing a different mirror because different individuals have different sets of ideas and beliefs that need to be clarified. So it's not how they perceive themselves, it's all about your perception of them. So just write simple statements, and here again you've got a sample worksheet. Dad, he abuses his family, perception statement. He sexually abused me. He bullies me. He puts me down. He can be kind at times. Important to notice those positive ones too. He's generous with money. He's giving to people who need help. So write down all of those perception statements and how those individuals that you've identified have produced an emotional reaction or response within you, and for whatever reason. So now you're going to go into a little bit more detail on that. And there you have your worksheet. Okay, so you've got the examples there and your worksheet. The next one, task 1C, your mirror statements. Now here's where it starts getting challenging. So you're going to take those perception statements and you're going to mirror them using the principles that we identified, knowing that every individual is reflecting something back that you are doing, believing within yourself. You're going to mirror these statements. Once you've written the mirror statement down, look for and write down an evidence statement. So as you write the mirror statements, try to feel the truth of that statement as an intuitive level. So this is quite an in-depth exercise. And you will really need to set some time aside for it. Don't try doing it while you've got an eye on the stove and you're busy cooking dinner, one eye on the TV. It's not that kind of work. It truly is focused, inner transformation work. So go back as far as you can in terms of that. So here's an example for you, and you've got the rest of the examples in the sheet. Dad, he abuses his family. So the mirror statement is, that's what I see. He abuses his family and he abuses me. I abuse myself is the mirror. Okay. Now, where's the evidence statement? And you're really going to need to look at this. And this is where something requires us to be authentic and completely honest with ourselves. So here's an example. I never do what I want to do. I always try to appease other people. And if then we start getting into the detail of why we might do that further on, and trying to appease people because that's the only way that I have any sense of self-worth. But it's really, really important to have a look at what the mirror statements are in each of the circumstances that you've identified, and then what the evidence is in your life with honesty for that mirror statement, because this is where you start revealing and become empowered to change those behaviors. So here's another one. He puts me down, which mirrored means I put myself down. So that's what my personality is locked in, because true self would never do that. So the only reason why he's showing that to me is because that is something that I am doing somewhere to myself. So where do I do that? In Jenny's case. Okay. I always tell myself I can't achieve something, and so I don't do it. I don't do what I would like to do. Plus, I always tell myself I'm too ugly, too fat, or too negative to actually achieve what it is that I want to achieve. So therefore, I'm always putting myself down. So look at another one. Mom, I see her as being weak. She's weak. And it frustrates me or pushes my button, or I wish she wouldn't be so weak. That's how I'm judging her. The mirror statement is I am weak. So what's the evidence? Where's the evidence for that statement? Sort of what is that weakness within myself? And it's identified as I don't ever stand up for myself if someone has a powerful personality. I'd rather stay quiet. And these evidence statements actually become really powerful ways of beginning to unravel the ideas and beliefs that have become cemented within our personality. Okay, here's another one about mom. She lets dad abuse me. We go back to I abuse myself. So it's the abuse again. Okay. Let's have a look. Where do I abuse myself? It's another example. I don't let people do good things for me. I always imagine that they want something from me. So I abuse myself by not allowing myself to experience the good, the beauty, the positive in life. So here we've got one evidence statement for abuse, which says, I never do what I want to do. I always try to appease other people. Where else I abuse myself is I don't let people do good things for me. That is abuse. True self only wants to live and experience joy, the beauty, the harmony of existence. Okay, so it's coming from personality. Here's another one. Colette uses me. So there's my judgment, there's my perception, that's what I'm seeing. Okay, so what's the mirror statement? I let Colette use me. And there's another powerful statement or mirror statement. I use Colette. Let's have a look at the evidence. I let Colette use me. The evidence for that is I don't like not having a friend to go out with. So therefore I let her use me so that I've just got a friend or somebody to go out with. Also, she's got a car. So I use her. I keep her around so I don't have to get the bus. So I want you to go through these examples because they are really powerful. And that's why I said earlier, this requires a really deep degree of honesty for you as you work through these processes. But I guarantee you, if you can actually do this and you do it um, as clearly and as honestly as you can, you will reap the benefits. You will reap the rewards, and you will experience the transformation and the healing that comes as a consequence of it. So it's tough. I didn't say it was going to be an easy process to do, and it's not just me sitting here and taking you through a meditation, because that's not what this is about. This honestly requires us to do some work to unfold and unfurl all of that stuff. So those are the three tasks that you have for this week. Oh, and the final one. Sorry about this. There's one more. The final one is D. Acknowledging your life pattern. So once you've got as far as the task above, which could take a few days and quite a few pages, you will have an extensive list of statements that will begin to reveal a pattern of behavior that will point at the ideas that you need to let go of. Okay, so you might want to start writing down. You can discuss the statements and patterns with an insightful close friend or relative that you can trust. This is where I said it may be really good to have somebody close that you can trust, who is not going to judge you, who is not going to push buttons, who is not going to abuse that sensitive space and that vulnerability that you're expressing by inviting them in to share this with you. So Jenny's pattern. So you start writing a summary of the pattern. So you could say, Jenny says here, I noticed that especially in the earlier days, I was surrounded by selfish people whose first instinct was to take care of themselves. My parents did not care much about my welfare. My father abused me and my mother looked the other way. because she was afraid for her own safety and security. She had no family that would assist her if she left her father. My friends were this, that, and the next thing, and now I'm starting to see the kind of games that I was playing. You know, we played a game of bully versus victim with my friends, both of us swapping roles on any given day. I have a tendency to bully John. When I really think about it, this is Jenny talking about her husband, because I know he loves and needs me and is very kind. So I am a bully and I am a victim, which means I can abuse others and I can play the victim of abuse as well. So you can see how the pattern starts revealing itself in many, many different guises and ways. And it brings us down ultimately to this statement, which says clearly, I am a victim and a bully. And there's my pattern, or one of the patterns. But that's the primary one that's been revealed through the process and through the stages of the process at this moment in time. I am a victim and I am a bully. And this is how I actually manifest it. So once you've gotten to that stage, then we begin the process of actually unraveling all of that and beginning to substitute and heal. Number one, the relationships with other people and the relationships with ourselves that have become distorted as a consequence of these ideas and beliefs. So that has taken us almost up to an hour and a half. There's a lot there for you to work with for the next week. So I'm going to close this down now, finish this recording so that I can get it out to you so that you can begin working with it. And I will confirm the connection details for the following week with you. And I'll do that as soon as possible in the next 24 hours. So there again, I invite you to, if you would like to check anything with me, to send me through an email or whatever. Please bear in mind that I did have so many emails this week from various people with the newsletter that I sent out and with the events that I was actually going through and experiencing on the loss of my beautiful little Millie. And I'm still in the process of actually responding to many of those. So if I don't get back to you straight away, please just have a bit of patience and understanding for me, because I'm still basically tying up that whole process and still going through my own mirrors, my own mirrors and reflections as a consequence of all of this. And I'm still going through the residuals of the grieving. So I thank you again for your understanding, for your patience, and look forward to connecting with you, if not during the week, then next week. Enjoy your journey of discovery. With much, much love to you all, and lots of blessings. And may your true self shine through during this week. Thank you. Bye.